Hey guys, this is Killrob speaking, and today we are going to take a look at differentials and active suspension stuff. So, oh, wait a second. These are new main menu buttons, it seems. Or at least revamped ones. So, how are we going to do this? Well, we are going to build a car. One thing I would like you to note along the way while I'm building this is that I chose to build an engine which is really underpowered for a potentially around 1.4-1.5 kilogram car. So keep that in mind. Only 63 kilowatts are available here. Alright, so here we do have the stats, and they turned out as expected, I would say. Let's take another look at the interior choices I made. We have premium all around, and I deliberately didn't choose traction control. And as you probably already know from your vast knowledge of the automotive technologies, that is because we are looking at differentials and want to see if they are useful for getting better traction. And traction control would, of course, hinder us from doing so. So let's take a look here. We do have very high tameness, decent spottiness. I revamped that stat a bit, the progression a bit, so that even slower cars a bit more easily get a bit of spottiness. Not much, but a bit at least. So no more cars around free spottiness or something if they are actually reasonable in any way. Then pretty high comfort and safety is up there and so on. So nothing fancy. It is a 1.5 ton car and it's all nice and dandy and really good economy because there's basically no engine in it. The Flintstones drive. So for this car we chose the standard open differential, and differentials in automation are currently working as such that they have various flat bonuses tied to them, to the main car stats. As you can see here, sportiness, comfort, off-road, stameness and so on. And then there's a simulation aspect to them as well, and that is that you do get a bonus to your grip in the acceleration calculations the better your diff is, and the better it is suited for that acceleration stuff. For instance, a locker diff is much better at accelerating in a straight line than a standard open diff would be. So if we choose that one, we would expect to see quicker acceleration, but also lower tameness, because this diff is really bad. Gives, like, when it engages, it's very rough. So yes, comfort wouldn't be too good. So let's go with the locker diff and see what it does. As you can see, we have lost a bit of tameness, we've gained a bit of sportiness, and gained a bit of prestige, but lost a pretty significant amount of comfort, as you would expect. Let's take a look at the acceleration figures. As you can see, we are almost a second faster. Yes, it does make a second difference, even with this slow car. An open diff is not really good on anything but perfect asphalt and perfectly equal tires. So, yep, this one would help a bit. And right at the start, that is the biggest effect. So if we had a 0 to 30 time, that would probably be the only one really being affected with this really powerful car. So what happens if we put on a significantly better diff? The locker diff really is just your straight line acceleration diff. Goes into like 60s, 70s muscle cars or something. And then you have the viscous diff, which is all around average. It's much smoother than the locker diff, and it's not too expensive either. So this would probably go in many of the reasonably more modern cars. Then you have your geared diff, which is much more costly, but probably goes into more sporty cars. And then you have the electric diff, which is modern day magic stuff with wheel speed sensors and the central computer controlling all kinds of stuff. So we choose this one and you would see that we get hugely better stats. Hugely. No, not really hugely, because this car doesn't have any power whatsoever, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you get a bit of tameness bonus, sportiness bonus, comfort bonus, definitely, it's much smoother. Prestige doesn't really care. We do end up just very tiny bit better than the locker diff did, but there's not a big difference here whatsoever. Definitely not worth the price for that kind of power you want to put down. So let's build a new engine and see what happens if we put a bit more power into it. Alright, so this is the new engine, and as you can see it has slightly more power. Basically half, but plus 400. Well, first of all, we have significant problems getting the gearbox in, but we are leaving that at the 240 we set before and keep the same spacing as well. So then 5 gears only and so on, and we go back to the open diff and just test the car. As you can see, we have gained much more sportiness, but we have lost a lot of tameness because of all the wheel spin. Gained lots of prestige because this car is now something people would like to have, apart from the dying in it part of it. And they definitely don't want it for the fuel economy anymore. So let's take a look at the test track stats. And here we have it. So 5.8 seconds. 0 to 100 time, and the quarter mile is interesting now as well. It is exactly 100th of a second too slow. Fail. So how do we get it faster? Let's see. If we choose the locker diff, then we should get the a lot of benefit for the straight line acceleration. And let's see if that helps. Tameness actually increased very slightly. Remember that it actually decreased for the slower car because of the effect when it's engaging in corners and things that you don't really want. So here we do have a gain in tameness, probably because it's making wheel spin less of a problem. And then we take a look at the god of diffs and see how that would turn out. In this case we get a huge benefit to tameness and sportiness as well, and comfort and so on. Let's see how quick that does. So with the locker diff we got down to 5 seconds from 0 to 100, and with the electric diff we can eke out a little bit on top of that. And now let's take a look at the new suspension stuff. So we do have lots of new springs, dampers and sway bars, and most of it is done in a reasonably simplistic fashion. So what springs do and dampers and sway bars, they have these stiffness values, but we still want the player to have the full control over what stiffnesses they have and so on. So how these work is basically that they give you bonuses, and these are not shown in the tooltips yet, but basically hydropneumatic would be your go-to comfort suspension, while the air suspension can be a bit more sporty, and then you have this very modern stuff, the fully active suspension, like fully computer controlled stuff, which can be tuned in basically 2 ways, either comfortable or sports extreme. So you can go with either of these, and these will increase passively the multipliers to your main car stats, but also they will give you a bonus softness in the bump test you're running, while not affecting the car in any negative way at the same time. So for handling, like cornering and so on, they will be stiff as you set them in the settings over here in your normal suspension settings with your presets and so on, but they will have a bonus for the comfort test, so to say. So what more do we have here? Well, the same thing basically goes for the dampers. You have flat bonuses, but then the damper's stiffness is also adjusted depending on what test you're running and what damper you have. For the passive one, it has exactly the settings for all the tests you set down here in the damper stiffness. When you go to the bump test with other dampers, then they will receive a bonus in the bump test for how soft it is without bottoming out. And that would give you some nice bonuses to your comfort levels. The same goes for the sway bar as well. So interesting stuff you can do here. There are some flat bonuses. For example, the off-road one gives, of course, gives a off-road bonus, and so on and so forth. So let's take a look at the difference. Once again, I just run a test here, and we can see, yep, okay, these are the stats. Now let's check what, for example, the hydropneumatic one does. Please note the softness bonus is not yet implemented, so the tests are currently looking exactly the same, which they shouldn't. But the passive bonuses are already in the game. So let's see what, for example, this one does. And we give it some semi-active sway bar stuff as well. And let's test it. And as you can see here, it sacrificed a bit of sportiness, gained lots of tameness, and massive amounts of comfort. And generally is just better all round. But to drive the hydraulic stuff, let's see, which one did we choose? Yeah, hydropneumatic. The pneumatic stuff, you do need a bit of power while cruising and things. So actually this increased your economy as well, not only the price. It is massively expensive. So let's choose the sports one instead, with semi-active dampers, and as noted, these are only the bonuses you get without the softness bonus, without the simulation tie-in so far. So this one would be slightly worse in all the parts apart from sportiness, which it is focused on, and even gives you better economy. Yay! So yeah, that's about it, what you can do with the differentials and the active suspension stuff so far. There will of course be more updates coming your way. So hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.